So today we're going to talk about what it really takes to build inclusive AI communities, not just in theory, but in action. My name's Pallavi Sharma. I'm your host of Your AI CMO. And in this episode, I have the pleasure of sitting down with N. Liberty White. She's a powerhouse storyteller, digital strategy leader, and co-founder of She Learns AI, home to Women and AI Futures. And we're going to uncover the truth about inclusive AI from the ground up. We talk about what AI literacy actually means for leaders today and how organizations are getting inclusion wrong. Also, we'll discuss what it looks like when diverse communities are at the center of innovation and not an afterthought. Here, as a person of color who happens to be female and a parent, here. We have to build a better future that works for all of us. So with a background that spans media, entrepreneurship, and deep community building, Liberty brings incredible insights and strategy to the conversation. So let's get started. Liberty, welcome.
Thank you so much, Pallavi. I am so excited to be here because I just think about all the women in AI that I've been fangirling after, but I actually got a chance to meet you in person when I came out to San Francisco. So to sit down with you is just wonderful. So I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Likewise. And I feel like I don't do any kind of podcast webinar without mentioning the women. They're called Women X AI now. And, they have these amazing events around the Bay Area. And so I was attending one and I actually used that organization to validate that I should go and launch my own business. When I was thinking about launching it, one of the first events I went to was one that they had hosted. And, I saw these amazing women doing incredible things with AI. And I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely right. I've done the corporate grind for many, many years and I want to do my own thing. And AI is mind blowing to me. So let's go. And I built my own business in 3 weeks using AI, using the knowledge I had of marketing, and signed 3 clients within another 3 weeks. And, Liberty, the thing that was most important for me to see that, I'm not telling you that because it's so cool that I did that. It's that I figured if I could do that, then I could help especially people of color and women, set their own businesses up and scale, because we just don't get the level of support, funding, mentorship, you name it, right? We just don't get it. And so I thought if I could do a little bit to help folks, help their business growth with what I could do with AI, let's go. That's where I was at. So let's talk about you. Go ahead.
You know what? That's actually interesting that you say that. And I think it speaks to not only both of us background, the marketing side of the world, but even as women and how we operate. Because a few years ago when I was fundraising and I had a startup, and it was children's programming and diversity. And then I kept applying for grants and programs and wasn't really getting anywhere. And then there was a program that I went through with Rachel Rogers. Her book is called We Should All Be Millionaires. And she said this as a part of her story. She shared that her business funds her nonprofit. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going about this wrong, that I need to focus on scaling my business so that the projects that I, nonprofit or those types of things that I can fund it. And by the end of that year, that's when ChatGPT came out and Midjourney was getting really hot. So I was like, I think I should be paying more attention to this AI stuff. And especially as a creator, that it's changing the way that we do things. So as you said, 3 weeks, you were able to use the tools to be able to scale. That's the way I look at how I've evolved, is here are these tools that will help my business, but then also the creative side, and help me to do more with less.
Exactly. And we've been doing more with less as far as I can remember, but now it really helps us do a lot more. So let's start at the beginning. What first drew you into the world of AI, storytelling, and community building?
Ooh, that's a great one. How much time do we have again? Yeah.
As long as you want.
So I would say let's start maybe in the reverse. So hindsight being 2020, I now see that I have just always been a part of what's next. And I'll explain that. So I was just coming out of university, and I remember just wanting to, just before I left university, here I am in school getting a double degree, and wait, there's this web design stuff that people are talking about. Let me switch my classes to to the nighttime so I can go to, at this point in time, it was Macromedia. So for those who, I don't know how far back some of your listeners are, but that's pre-Adobe. Adobe bought Macromedia Flash, Dreamweaver. So I went, and just from that time of being able to see how you can integrate tech into marketing and promoting, I started an email list and I was doing all of these events. So that promoter side of me has always been there. The storytelling of telling other people's stories has always been there. So that's over 20 years, dating myself there. But in the last 3 years, AI and its emergence publicly, let's say more so, because we know from the 90s, that's when artificial intelligence really came on the scene. And those people who are in computer science, machine learning, engineering, that realm, they've had their hands on a lot of the tools that have now been more consumer facing. And now this is where we have the marketing world, that we just have all these tools that are accessible to us. So I'm a part of this community called Office Hours Global. Once some of the members started using Midjourney, we would have conversations about it. And that's when I got my hands wet. And it wasn't until I think it was the top of 2023, I said, well, let me do this tutorial showing, because I just have an inclination to teaching and have taught at places like General Assembly and Creative Circus. And I did a tutorial that went viral. It's like, oh,
Nice.
there might be something to this AI content creation thing. So that's kind of my origin stories when it comes to AI.
Well, I'm excited to see that because I don't think I have. And so that's really wonderful. And, I used to love Dreamweaver. I remember Dreamweaver.
Right,
It was
right.
pretty amazing, and you're right. And I saw this happen with Adobe products, for example, over the years, using them increasingly. It became that you had to be a professional. Before, it used to be they were simple enough that if you were a marketing generalist, you could use Adobe Suite pretty easily. And then they increasingly moved, I think, in this direction where you really needed to either be a web designer, a graphic designer to use the tools because they became complicated. Then we saw Canva come out and make those types of tools way more accessible. And I literally just finished recording a webinar with the head of marketing for Gamma. And so Gamma is looking to disrupt it even further, where they are using AI and you can just upload a document and say, create a presentation, and it creates a full like PowerPoint like presentation that's actually really darn good. And so the innovation that's happening is really incredible, and you're now able to speed things up. But that accessibility is also making it tough as a marketer because it's really difficult to kind of cut through the noise, I think, when there's so much content out there. So you have AI that's doing this proliferation of content, but then you have people that don't necessarily have these, long corporate careers that go out there and just produce mind-blowingly amazing content. So it's incredible. I think there's just so much disruption, and it's vibrant. And I think this is why I want to just shake people who are, not generally the folks you see at the helms of company, and say, go take your idea, try to take it to market. There's no time better than right now.
So I love that you said that, because that keyword there of the accessibility. So those folks that potentially don't have, whether it be from an educational level or just even experience with certain tools. Like, I got a chance to speak to the National Association of Black Journalists, and this was earlier this year. But I always say that at the end of the day, you're the subject matter expert. So AI can't necessarily take your storytelling, like your authentic story, from you. There's certain lived experiences that you have, that I have, and being able to take the tools that, like you said, they've leveled. Excuse me, sorry. Taking those tools, because they've leveled the playing field for us. Now, diction wise, kind of futurist here, what I predict that we're going to see is, yes, this noise is going to continue to be here for a little while, but then there's going to be a rising where the cream rises to the top, where the storytellers, like your ability to hone the storytelling, but then also the tools to help you. There's an authenticity that people are craving, and we're going to see that more. But it is important for us to understand how to use the tools and when not to. That's also another important point, when not to.
Exactly. Especially with AI. There's a lot of opportunities where you should not use it, be
Right.
human. And this is what I'm telling the companies that I work with my company called Wit Omni AI Marketing, which I should call an agency, and I'm still having a little concerns about calling it an agency because usually when executives hear that run the other way, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's going to be so much more expensive, I think, than you would think." But AI's again like just collapsed everything, so you can do everything so much cheaper. It's just kind of insane for me to see. But with the companies that I'm working with, I am telling them how important it is as executives that they have to get out there in front of people. You can't just hide behind like a corporate shell, which used to be the
Right.
way things were done. I'm seeing a lot of startup founders, for example, on LinkedIn that are posting regularly about their journeys, what they're learning, they're sharing it. And so it becomes incredibly important for people, I think, now when there is so much fake stuff out there to be able to understand who are the people behind this tech that I'm using, the tool. Do the values of this company align with me? Does it resonate? I mean, you look at Elon Musk, right? Like an amazing visionary, but a lot of his decisions are turning a lot of people off and it's impacting the stock market. So you can't just hide behind and say, I built a good product, but I'm a different kind of person over here because it may impact your business.
Yeah, and to that point even, again, it's the authenticity, and I think part of what is here and available to the CMOs, to the startup founders, to the small business owners, even within if you work within an organization, even your branding in that organization so that you can continue to be seen for possible promotions is not only the ability to tell the story, but now the consistency that comes with it and you really taking the reins in telling your story. I look at the fact that actually a week ago today, I shared a post on LinkedIn and it's something that I normally wouldn't post. So would AI have told me, throw in a wild card? Probably not. However, what happened from the authenticity and the consistency, because usually I try my best to post almost every day. I've done that for the past 2 years. So when people look and they're like, Liberty, you're everywhere. No, Liberty has tools that helps her to plan and to schedule. And yes, I'll inject certain elements, especially if things happen in real time. But to have that framework per se around just it helps you to then be able to be, this is not going to change, top of mind and awareness as well.
Excellent. Let's talk about that. It's very specific about LinkedIn. So you said you post every day. I actually post about once a week, and I've been
Mhm.
trying to get to the every day. And even with my once a week posting, when I'm offline, I keep hearing that. They're like, "You're everywhere. We're seeing you all over LinkedIn." And I'm curious, any advice in terms of if you're really serious about driving business growth, what do you think? Once a week, every day? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so great question. I look at it as, first of all, know your capacity because I could tell you right now every day and you get burnt out and then you stop posting. We don't want that. So we're looking at some form of consistency for you. So I'd say at minimum, 2 times a week and know your audience. Know so for the most part, the people who follow or engage with my content are either in tech, AI, some in the marketing world, or even founders or founders investors. So knowing what kind of content works for them. I know, and I say this to the team all the time for Women in AI Futures. I say if there's anything we need to get out into the world, it has to be on a Thursday if we need people to pay attention. So knowing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, those are your executives are mainly online, but they're online Sunday getting ready for the week. So what kind of content are you putting out on those days? Knowing also the power of commenting. So, Pallavi, even though you said that you post once a week or so, you you're in comments though. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
another level of engagement because when you post and when you make a comment, that reverberates to your audience. So they're seeing you. So there's several tactics. And then looking at the fact, are you doing video, carousels, graphics, like even toying around with that. So whenever we're doing like an audit for an organization, we look at first just looking at their audience, looking at the landscape. What are other people? Because for some people, video might not make sense, but you have that long form writing for your execs or your storytellers. You have carousels with very substantive information and data points and workbooks and those types of things. Like being able to understand your content mix is truly powerful and helpful. So you do not have to post all a day every day. For me, that is a level of discipline. And then also I was offline for a lot of April. So I also needed to like, okay, let me make sure I say something because we're getting ready to head to France for Cannes. And I just like, okay,
Gosh, it's
we gotta make sure.
incredible.
Thank you. So it's like a big strategy, but making sure that your capacity first and foremost is where I always tell people to begin.
Exactly. No posting and ghosting. It's a social media platform and there is an algorithm, and LinkedIn wants to see that you're engaging and not just posting something and leaving, and definitely respond to your comments. And yeah, you're right. A lot of my week I end up, going and commenting, not just for the algorithm, but there's so much learning happening right now. I mean, I started using LinkedIn really as a learning platform because the kind of content that does well is when people are sharing their knowledge. And I tell people this, again, offline, they'll say, "Oh, you're posting this stuff, but I'm not really good at self promotion." And I'm like, that's not what's happening here. What's happening is that you have something to share. And so look at it that way. Like instead of keeping your knowledge to yourself, you're going on and you're sharing your insights with other people that are hopefully helping them. And then, the folks, if you're following the right folks, they're sharing a tremendous amount of information and you can learn a lot by engaging. So it's not just about networking, it's also about learning from these other folks that are in your industry or posting about things that you care about. And the other aspect is with AI, especially, things are moving so fast. You cannot consume and learn in a static way. It has to be pretty dynamic. Every day there's something breaking and breaking news. ChatGPT just launched XYZ. And so staying abreast of all these things is increasingly important. And that's how you do it with this kind of networking. I have this whole list of questions and I'm like, we're not even getting to them yet because it's so great to talk to you. I have a really interesting question about a question. So I obviously use ChatGPT to set up the entire podcast from the topic to the questions. I have a custom GPT that I've trained to do this for me. And then, I give it context and I fed in your profile. And let me read you word for word the question that came out.
Okay.
You've built a reputation for weaving strategy and soul into tech. How did that lens develop for you over time? So when I read this question, I was like, why did it say that you woven soul into tech? I'm like, maybe she had it somewhere in her profile. I don't know, but I wanted to ask you that. Is that just ChatGPT making some assumptions about you?
That is 1,000% ChatGPT, and that
Oh
makes
my
me
God.
wonder, like, what does it have on me that it said soul? Like, yes, that was definitely not me. So
Wow.
I don't think any of my copy has anything like that.
It's insane, but I think we both have a lot of soul, so it's okay. But still, you get my point.